Mm.
So I will also display us properly with equality and equity,
Yeah.
and not let you hog all the limelight. Pin to screen. I think when I do
Well,
that.
you're hogging the limelight for me. On my end, it's you that's in the middle.
Oh, I'm just in a little corner. Um,
I think that. So I think it displays opposite for both of us. You're in the middle for me, and I'm in the corner on my end.
right. Mm, it's like
It doesn't
it
matter.
really is like playing the organ. You know, it's like so many things could possibly go wrong, but it is a bit of a challenge, and I don't mind having a bit of a challenge every now and then. Um, anyway, I wonder what
Mm.
it actually looks like. But we're live. It says um, the stream is excellent in quality. I suppose I could even share it. Um,
Yeah, I haven't got a notification about your channel going live. That's interesting.
I don't mind having a bit of a challenge. It is live according to my thing.
Mm.
Yeah, there's just so many bugs. But anyway, we're definitely live because I've just heard the delay echo.
Hmm.
And
How many times have you been live in the last 24 hours?
maybe 6 or 7. What
Ah, well,
using
there you go.
OBS? You mean?
In any way whatsoever on your YouTube channel.
Well, yeah, I've tried a few times, so yeah, it would be
Yeah.
around 10 or so.
So, oh, okay. So, YouTube will only send your viewers a maximum of 3 notifications from you per day. After that, they're not notifying anybody so that you don't get overly spammed, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, I can do the change layout thing now. Change layout. Um, gosh. Yeah, I can see why StreamYard is so popular because it's just
Yeah.
one step, right?
It just makes everything so much simpler, doesn't it? They do all the hard lifting for you, all the heavy lifting.
Indeed, indeed. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's quite creative what OBS lets you do. I guess if you're teaching classes and you can multitask and remember all the smart little moves you can make and the animation and the I don't know. I guess if you're a teacher, you would have a what do you call it kind of blackboard. So you see now it's just
Mhm.
gone back to camera again, and we have two concurrent viewers, just the two of us. Um, and now I have to click on Google Meet in order to get the thing to display properly. So that's what happens, and yeah. So I guess it's quite distracting if you want to be talking and you have to be monitoring all these things, and it will probably drive you crazy. But I just wanted to
Yeah.
be able to show that I managed to go live without too many fuck ups, and that we managed to have a proper conversation because I think that was the thing about oh yes, conversations.
Mm.
I mean, there
Yeah.
are books
I
about
mean,
it.
yeah. StreamYard StreamYard is unaffordable now. I mean, I would not consider paying 40, what is it, $44 now they want per month? That's insane. I can't hear you anymore.
Because I wasn't
What's
saying
happened?
anything because I actually didn't quite
Hello.
Oh, you can't hear me now. Bloody hell. You should be able to hear me. I haven't muted myself.
I, I
Eh,
I
eh,
can hear you now. I can hear you now.
right, right. And yes, so I think it's just a matter of getting us hooked, and then they kind of try different prices on us, which is really what it's all about, I suppose. I mean, today I heard that what they're doing when they have your IP address and when you are booking a flight or a hotel or something, is that you're kind of disconcerted every time you go back to the website after having a good old look around for the best price. It goes up a bit, and this disconcerts you, and then you have another look, and oh, it's all gone up, and every time I have a look, it just goes up, and I think it's because they somehow identify you through your IP address, and then they know eventually you're going to settle. Actually, I'm not sure how it works, but this guy whose video I explained to you, because he was also selling VPN, explained how the whole scam worked, basically.
Hmm. Yeah, there's definitely something to that, and it's only going to get worse with AI. They're going to, I mean, in 10 years' time, it's definitely going to be the case that when you go to like a website to buy something, what you see will be tailored for you personally, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And if I went to view it, it would like what I would see would be different. The descriptions will be different. They'll be tailored to my psychology, and your descriptions will be tailored to your psychology, and all things like this.
Yes,
Because
just
they have so
more
much data about us.
manipulation.
Yeah, and the way that they get around it, arguing that this is okay, is that, well, we're just using the data to give you what you want, you know, uh, in a better way, give you exactly what you want. What could be wrong with that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's not such a bad thing. I used to be, I used to be one of these guys who was paranoid about privacy. When I started on the internet, I listened to these people who say, "Oh, you have to use a VPN everywhere. Oh, and I have to super lock down all your information and all this kind of stuff." And it makes you, for one, it makes you a little neurotic. Two, you can lose access to things because I used to put in these really complicated passwords for everything, like that, about 15 characters long with all different symbols in.
Yeah.
And then I forget them, and then I've lost access to accounts
Yeah, and then you
forever.
think, oh, I'll put all my passwords in a book. And then, of course, somebody gets hold of your book of passwords and you're cooked.
Yeah. Oh my God. So the other year, it happened when I broke my phone. Actually, I smashed my phone, and I just decided to give up doing any of this shit because instead of like I listen to these people who say you shouldn't like give Google all your data because they're going to use it against you. But it's also extremely fucking convenient for Google to have all your data in case you smash your phone or whatever. Then you can just re-download it all. So I get it. I get the implication. Big tech has all your data, but the thing is, I mean, it's so convenient, and nothing actually bad really happens to people who don't worry about any of this shit. Like, I think about my brother, my parents, my neighbors. None of these people seem to be, detrimentally impacted in their lives by big tech having their data.
Yeah, but did you ever watch was it the Bourne conspiracy or the Bourne something? Where,
Born supremacy. Yeah.
yeah, there was a series of them, um, and what I remembered in particular was his burner phones, and he did all his sling, and then he
Yeah.
threw away his phone, and blah blah blah, and um, and the thing is, yes, on the one hand, we don't want anybody knowing what we've been up to, if we've been doing anything, and then on the other hand, we want people to remember us, and I think fundamentally we are neurotic because we ourselves haven't decided, and yeah.
Well, I suddenly realised I'm not actually doing anything illegal, and so I mean, heard all these arguments before. Somebody once put the argument to me like this: if you don't have anything to hide, then a put a webcam in your shower.
Hmm.
And I understood that argument. That demonstrates to you that everybody therefore has something to hide. So but fundamentally, I'm not like a criminal. I'm not Edward Snowden, worried about like the government coming, hopefully, and putting, uh, abseiling in via ropes through my window and flashbanging me, or because they found out where I am, or anything like that. So I just decided to give up caring about it. I will let what will be,
Yes,
and I feel much healthier for it.
yes, because really, I don't think any of us are doing anything wrong. We're just testing the boundaries of free speech, and
Mm.
sometimes we discover that powers that be don't like it. But you know, even the whole legal situation about YouTube is well, it is legal basically. It's sort of, well, are they a publisher or are they a platform? Because if they're a platform, then anybody who wants to sue us, it's us. They will have to hunt down the individual user of YouTube or Twitter or whatever, and it's not Twitter or YouTube's problem that we've said anything naughty. But they have to decide, and they can't decide either because they're neurotic too.
Hmm. Well, in our country, it's our problem, isn't it? The police come and get you, as you know, don't
Well, I
you?
mean, they came for what's his name, Andy Nowicki, if you've ever followed him, and he's the most inoffensive guy you could ever hope to
Hmm.
see, you know, completely inoffensive. So I don't know what all that. I guess they just have the
But
time to intimidate people.
Andy Nowicki, though, is the type of character you could imagine to do something like. I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way, but like, I don't know,
Oh, he could be
he's
like the guy in what Falling Down.
he
The
he could be the falling down guy. He could also, for instance, be like, I don't know, a modern day version of like the Unabomber or something. It's like the archetype, the lone wolf type character who becomes increasingly disgruntled with society. They believe everybody's out to get them. They start believing crazy conspiracy theories to the extent that he believes like the Mandela effect is real, and starts writing books about, like, one of his books is literally about this the Columbine school shooters. So I
mm-hmm.
mean, all the warning signs are there. I mean, I imagine that on their systems, something like the FBI has a list of flags that start getting ticked, and if you tick so many boxes, they probably come and pay you a visit, don't they?
Yes,
Just to
I'm suddenly
check.
reminded. It was something John Major said, and he said, "Beware the anger of the quiet man." That kind of thing. Do you remember him, or do you have you heard the expression?
No, that wasn't John Major. Wasn't that Ian Duncan Smith who said that?
Oh, yeah, maybe it was him. Um,
Yeah, idea. Yeah. Your camera's back on the screen, by the way,
yeah, I know.
showing us
Um,
your wall.
yeah,
It doesn't matter.
no, it
It's
doesn't
okay.
matter. But I mean, we're just having a conversation, and I'm just trying to to see how many things can possibly go wrong in this short stream. Um, but yeah. What was I trying to say? So really, in theory, it's like if you're this, he-man alpha male, you're in trouble because you are, leadership material, and the authorities would be frightened of you, right? And but if you're a quiet man, you could just get to the end of your tether and then go crazy.
Mm.
And this reminds me of this running amok thing. I don't know if you know that the
Mm.
word is Malay in origin. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. No, I did not.
So
Malaysian.
yeah, yeah. So I know Americans say they go on about some mad axe murderer, right? And
Yes.
but obviously the Malays, they didn't invent the gun. It's a European invention. But what would happen is, every now and then some men do suddenly snap, and then, I guess the most lethal weapon available
I've
would
lost
be
you. Oh, you're back.
the axe, and and, and,
Mm.
and they go around, killing people. I think the Chinese version of it is the chopper, the meat cleaver.
Yes.
But anyway, I'm saying
Mm.
it's not unique to um, any people. That and then there's actually an interesting Wikipedia entry about this idea that the quiet man who is bullied, right, is bullied, and has had enough of it, and goes crazy, and you were talking about the
Snaps.
pardon.
And they snap. They snap.
Yes,
They get.
yes. Uh,
you know, They'll take it for years and years and years and years, and then one day they just snap.
Exactly. And in the murder cases that I remember doing, the the judiciary have created this idea of long fuse, short fuse thing with regard to domestic violence. It's like, yeah, the man is just, he sees his wife having sex with another man, and then he goes crazy and kills her, and it's called a crime of passion. But the woman is actually the man could be doing nothing, just I don't know, just being loud and disgusting after drinking, and then drunkenly snoring on the sofa, and then she takes it into her mind to kill him, but he hasn't actually done anything to her. And then they're saying, oh, but she had this long fuse, and she was at the end of her tether, kind of thing.
Mm.
But basically the idea is, people who've taken it a long time can also snap, as well as the obvious people, who are, capable of military or political leadership. So I guess they have to be looking everywhere, if they've really pissed us off, and they are really pissing us off, aren't they? I mean, that is the thing. And then, of course, we start thinking of terrorism, and then, of Muslims. But, this is something I want to point out to people, that this suicide bombing thing actually came from Sri Lanka. I don't know if you know this.
I don't. Is that the Tamil Tigers?
Yeah, yeah. So actually, I don't know
Mhm.
if it was the Hindus or the Buddhists who are doing it, but obviously they were fighting for supremacy in Sri Lanka. I don't even know who actually won. Maybe they're not allowed to discuss it. But what am I trying to say? Oh yes, yes, school shooting. So the first time I spoke to Luke, um, sadly that stream is gone. But I remember being taken aback by um, somebody there was some American talking about his school days, and was saying how horrible it was. Basically being warehoused, and nobody imposing any discipline, and letting all the bullies get away with everything, really. And because that was because I said, the American high school experience, even when romanticized and presented through movies supposed to promote American values, I found particularly disgusting and horrible and traumatizing. And I was suggesting that I could see the point of how angry people might get, in their teens who wouldn't be able to control their rage. And that's why, you get so many school shootings in America because of the Second Amendment and the horrible nature, well, the horrible schools that they have. Which has already come
Yeah.
here because they have
Um,
proms and shit like this in this country now because we ape everything, from America.
it's difficult to understand a school shooting. I mean,
Bob
I mean,
Geldof
obviously, I
made
was
a
never
song
bullied at
on
school
it.
because yeah, yeah, you just don't like Mondays. That one, is that what that was
Yes,
about?
tell me why I don't like. Yes, that one. And it's about an American school shooting in San Diego. It actually happened. I didn't even know what it was
Mm,
about until, years later.
yeah, I mean, hmm, some kids can get horrifically bullied in school. I would not know what that is like, thankfully, because I mean,
And you could defend yourself at any rate because, you're
yeah,
an
because as
athlete.
a kid, because
Mm-hmm.
as a kid, I did karate. That put me in like top one 0.1% of kids. So um, I never had to worry about that. And really, bullying comes down to can you defend yourself? It's the weak children, obviously, who get bullied, and I imagine it can be quite despairing. I mean, I used to. I once told this story, not to make a big deal, but like at school, I used to like defend other kids if I saw bullying going on. I used to get that kid and say, "You can come, you can come around with me, and you can, and when it's dinner time, you come and sit on my table at lunch at dinner time. Um, to prevent other bullies bullying these kids who I saw about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It was like the first week of school. I actually, yeah, did I ever tell you the first in my first week in school,
Mm-hmm.
I got suspended for fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and from that, it didn't like people didn't have to know that I was doing karate. It just, basically I roundhouse kicked this bigger guy, this bigger kid in the assembly because he'd stolen my bag,
Mm-hmm.
and I got suspended for it. But it turned out to be a good thing because after that, nobody dared mess with me because they knew that I would fight back.
Yeah. Hmm.
But what I was trying to say was, um, when these school shooters do this, they have like their whole lives ahead of them, and they're ruining it, their entire lives. So, I mean, you only have what, like when you're in high school, at the most another like 4 years or 5 years to get through. So, can it really be that bad that you would like throw away your entire life? I suppose for some of them, it must feel that bad that you would throw away your entire life versus not to claim that Andy Nowicki is going to be a mass shooter or anything like that, but I can much more understand the older guy archetype who loses everything, hates society, blames society, and has nothing left to live for, and thinks, well, all I've got left to look forward to is probably, like keeping paying my ex-wife money or whatever, or um, uh, uh, I, I don't know, taxes, payments, losing my health and vitality. The government hates me. My wife's left me. My kids hate me. And what, now's probably like the time where I'm going to go out and do something, end it with a bang, basically. God forbid, disavow all this, of course. We're just trying to understand the psychology of these people, aren't we, Claire?
Well, yes, because I guess, people could say, I was so angry, I lost control, I wasn't thinking of the future, I just had to do whatever I did that, was clearly criminal. But what I'm trying to say with regard to how it affects government is that, stop pissing us off. Why do you have to do it? Why do you have to piss us all off to such a degree that you fear the people who have charisma, and you also fear the meek and mild people whom you keep kicking around? Why do you have to do that? Do they know they're doing that? Do they care? Or do they think that they have it all under control? Because I think even with AI, it's like...
On purpose. Are they deliberately? Is Keir Starmer in the government?
Well, yeah, isn't he?
Is Keir Starmer... Does he go into Downing Street and sit around at his cabinet table and ask his cabinet, how can we piss people off today? Or do they actually think they're doing the right thing? I'd venture they actually, as crazy as it sounds, they believe they're doing the right thing.
Yeah, but that's because they exercise so much censorship that that they're depriving themselves of the information that they need to govern us. Because by stopping us from saying what we need, and we don't say it, or if we say it, it's removed immediately, they don't know how pissed off people are with them. And I guess if they behave in an irrational way, if they don't really care, it's like, yeah, actually, I don't want to know. I don't care that you're upset.
Yeah.
But you see, people who care would have signs at the back of lorries saying, "How's my driving?" And if it's not that good, here's a number for you to ring. That kind of thing, to show that whoever is, letting these drivers drive their lorries for them care about the general, the other motorway users, other road users. But they're actually saying they don't care. They don't care how we feel. They only pretend to consult us every election, and as far as they're concerned, allowing us to vote is enough. But it's only, pretend anyway.
Well, you think it's pretend. I don't. I mean, I believe that the Labour government got in clearly by the Conservative Party voters staying at home. So that got us in the Labour Party government. It is monstrously worse because of it, radically worse, quickly. They are making lots of changes. So there is a significant difference. Yes, this isn't saying that the Conservative Party was good, but there is a difference between the two, particularly because this is like a young party. Well, it's not a young party, but this like wing or whatever. Who's running the show in the Labour government? They have no experience running a government, so they're all new at the job. They're all shit at it. They're like they're basically it's like electing a bunch of children, a bunch of teenagers to start running your company or something, isn't it? You just like fire everybody who's been running the company for 20 years, and you bring in a bunch of school children
who don't know anything to mess things up because they're cheap or something, right? Because I think that's the idea, that they're cheap.
Yeah, I see in chat that Serima says, I was arrested last year for inciting violence against the highest levels of government. Wow. Wow. To be honest, I can see that, Serima. I can actually see that. No offense. I do think you're a good guy a lot.
Yeah.
I like you, Serima, actually. But I can imagine that too. Not that you deserved it, but I can imagine that was right for you. that that happened to you.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
so I'm saying they don't know what they're doing, and they won't be told. And you know, maybe every now and then we get to a stage where our ruling classes are, well, just neurotic, because
Mm.
and then we have to ask ourselves, you know, what does it mean to be neurotic? It is to want to contradict two things at the same time. Wouldn't you agree? Is that how you would
Mm.
define neurosis?
Um, I don't know how I would define neurotic. I think neurotic is to be obsessed about things, and isn't that right? To neurotic, what is the definition of
Well, look,
neurotic?
look it up. But I think neurosis is you can't make up your mind because you really want two contradictory things at the same time. You um, you know, you want to be free, but you're afraid to be free, and you're just dithering. So I guess it's, you know, the physical equivalent of going round and round and round in your revolving door, because and exhausting yourself because you can't
Mm.
decide whether you want to be inside the building or outside the building. And I think this is basically what we are. And it's not just our ruling classes, it's, you know, the people complaining about the ruling classes.
When I use the word neurotic, I specifically I'm meaning that people are like this mindset who are worried, obsessive, um, not comfortable in any like decisions that they make. So yes, partly that they're changing their minds all the time, but it comes with a level of paranoia and obsessiveness and depression, that type of thing. I'd just like to tell the few people that have ended up watching. Mike is one, Mike Malazan, and Sarah. Claire is testing out her OBS skills, which are, she's done well. She's done well to figure out how to stream on OBS. But I mean, what you get to see is obviously just a mess, though, because she's not sure about how the windows work, using the correct scenes or anything like that. But she doesn't have any StreamYard time left for free,
Well,
so
actually,
she's
I have
streaming on
some
OBS.
StreamYard. I just thought, you know,
Oh,
with
do
the
you?
Karani Yule coming up, I should
Yes.
consider the alternatives.
When does it reset for you? Do you know your reset date?
On the 18th, I mean, I actually have quite a lot of
Mm.
StreamYard hours left, but I particularly want to, you know, I'm just in the mood to go yeah, discover the ins and outs of OBS. So I thought I'd make the most of it, since, you know, and also to talk about it a little bit to prepare people in case they're interested. I mean, I'll probably I'll probably use this, what was this one stream thing that you were talking about, that you
Yes, but we
introduced me to.
yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, you can use that for the free hour.
Mm.
Do you not feel like paying for it for £8.40 for a month?
Yeah, I don't mind, you know, just playing around
Mm,
with all these different things. And, you know, I feel
yeah.
that although, you know, Twitter is more friendly for me, I still want to, you know, visit my old subscribers and viewers and show that I haven't
Mm,
forgotten about them and stuff.
yeah.
Um, and I also know that all these different social media platforms have different protocols, and, you know, if you don't get them right, you don't get your message across, or you
Yeah.
know, you think you're behaving normally, but people just think you're being very, very rude, you know.
Yeah. Mike is asking what is OBS. Yes, it's open broadcast software. It's what if you say professional streamer, that's what they're using. Um, it's even what Luke is using, actually.
Oh, Luke uses it, does he? Because yes, I think it's all very clever the way
Yeah.
he kind of incorporates a chat into the video itself. And um, oh yeah, I didn't know he, because I was thinking,
Yeah.
what does Luke ever actually use? Um, he must have taken
Yeah.
a course in it or something.
he'll have paid somebody thousands of dollars to get him set up. Knowing Luke, he paid somebody $400 just to try and fix his microphone for him, and he still has audio issues.
Does it?
So, yeah, his mic still goes off and goes staticky, doesn't it?
I haven't noticed. But
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
okay.
he has to fix it. This reminds me, actually, Claire. There's another thing that you can do if you're using OBS, right? We don't have to speak in Meet. You could, when you go into StreamYard
Mm-hmm.
and you set up your stream,
Mm-hmm.
right? Have you noticed that
Oh yeah,
Luke?
we don't even have to go live.
Yes, you can just broadcast the studio. You can invite people into it. This is what Luke does. This is how he invites guests on. So he's using OBS to stream, but he just brings people into a non-live StreamYard room.
Oh, shall I try that now?
Yeah, why don't you try? Set up a StreamYard room,
Mm-hmm.
but don't go live, and then send me the link.
Okay. Cool. That's what I'll do.
Wow, exciting. Or did you want to see if Meet lasts 1 hour? Wasn't that something else you were wanting to try?
Oh yes. Thank you for reminding me.
Oh yeah.
um, I mean, we can
Yeah.
chat until we run out of things to say, and see what Mead reacts in any way, and kicks us out, and then we can.
Let's go for the hour then on Meet.
Yes. So what
Yeah.
was I going to say? So I'm saying that it's bad for them. I don't think the happy people, are ruling classes, even though they think, they have won over us. It must be horrible to be hated. And actually, years ago, I did meet someone, and he was a Fabian, and he was. I mean, I thought he was, really very well intentioned, but he was he was a Downing Street advisor, and he seemed to me to be living in another world, a world of theories and um, just very very disturbing. It's like sort of meeting a Ken doll with, I don't know, who's been inputted with ideas from a political theory textbook that a first year politics student might have read. And I thought that was just so crazy.
Wait, who were we talking about?
Okay, there was a Downing Street advisor that I knew from who was it was Brown or Blair, one of them, and
Right.
I did speak to him for quite a while. I did meet him again, and he was I don't know. He just seemed like he was an alien from outer space. So he has no life experience at all. So he's one of those sort of fast track graduates, who do well at school, go to university, and go straight into politics with no life experience.
Yes.
And I'm afraid a lot of them are like that. So they haven't run a business, they've never had a proper job, and they think we're plebs who don't understand their theories.
True. Yeah, no, there's a lot of people like that. But you say he was an advisor
A
rather than
Downing
like a
Street
lackey.
advisor.
No way. Fucking hell. Yeah, I can understand that, just like being a personal assistant or somebody. You want somebody from uni who's just like good at typing, good at writing, good at saying yes, boss, and just does what you ask, good at all like the clerical things that you ask, and is competent, not stupid, and is also
Sort of good
non-ideological.
looking, polite.
Yeah, yeah.
That sort of thing. Good with the women, basically.
And competent. Basically, doing 3 years at university, this is what I was told. Really, the 3 years that they give to people at university doesn't qualify them for anything. All it does is say to an employer, I'm not thick. I've basically met the minimum standard of passing out, of turning up at a, a moderate level difficulty course and not failing.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really matter what your subject is, unless you've specialized in something, like you're there to do medicine or pharmacy or engineering or something like that. The rest of them, the social sciences,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like this. Basically, it's just like high level competency course. Can you pass out at a higher level than average? And if so, you demonstrated that you're just not thick. And then a company will mold you to whatever they want.
Yeah, you're capable of
A
following
degree shows you can
instructions.
learn. Yeah, a degree shows you can learn, says Mike. Yeah, I guess that's right. Yeah.
So I was kind of pleased that I was able to follow the instructions of this, person who was doing the OBS video.
OBS is notoriously difficult, though, Claire.
Yeah,
So,
I know. So I'm quite pleased with myself that I sort of could remember a few bits. That okay. So I want to move. I can't change the display. Maybe people can see that I'm trying to do it, because you're too much over to the right, and I want to kind of centre all of us, both of us. Yeah, and I still remember this humorous card that I saw, and it was there was this graduate applying for a job, and then he was given a broom, and and he said, a broom, but I'm a graduate. And then the person giving him the broom said, would you like me to show you how to use it? And that was a joke, which I thought was appropriate.
yeah. I once, one summer, in college, I got a job at a factory, not a factory, a warehouse, where they do picking. Have you heard of this?
Picking what, fruit harvest?
No. In a warehouse, order picking.
Mm-hmm. Order picking. What does that mean?
You'll have one of these carts. It means that in a factory, you'll get a list of items. So there'll be a huge warehouse. Imagine Argos, okay? Imagine Argos, right? All the items in the Argos catalog
Oh,
will all be on
you wait behind, and they give you their list of items, and you go and hunt them out.
a list of items. You go and collect a pallet
Mm-hmm.
on one of those pump carts, and you walk around the warehouse, and you fill your pallet with the correct list of items that you've been given. You take it to an area, you shrink wrap it, and then you go and get another one. And that will go to a particular Argos store, for instance. That will be what that Argos store has ordered for their inventory. So, doing this in a warehouse. Well, I once got a job doing this. Now, it was not for Argos. This is just like an example I pulled out of my head. But the contract for the warehouse to get all the stock in hadn't come through. It was delayed. So they set on something like 20 or 25 of us to do this work, but there was no products in the warehouse yet. So we got there, and we just stood around it was shift work, so it's something like 8 or 6, whatever it was, I don't know, 10 till 6 or something like that, for 8 hours a day, just stood around with nothing to do all day, just waiting. And I decided, well, I'm bored shitless, I've got ADHD, I'm going to find something to do. I'm going to get a broom and clean this fucking factory. So I actually got 2 brooms, and I put them in a V shape, And for those 8 hours a day, while everybody else was just stood around talking, just wasting the time away for an entire week, this was like the whole week, I just walked around the factory with 2 brooms sweeping the factory, and I got it spotless. The warehouse got it absolutely spotless. And then the following week, all the product came in, and it was time to start picking. And the boss of the warehouse came to me and put me in charge of everybody. Because I showed, without anybody having asked me, he basically determined I was obviously like the one with the work ethic. He said, "Stephen, you're the team leader," and gave me a walkie. Yeah, gave me the walkie-talkie and said, "Okay, you're the team leader. You're in charge of everybody, and here's like £1.50 more per hour than everybody else." And everybody else was so fucking pissed off. You can't imagine it. But yeah.
Oh, well done, you.
Yeah. And I almost stayed on at that job rather than going back to college in the in September when it started again. I almost just sacked off college, and I wish, in a weird way, I wish I had done, because there's no point fucking
Then
going to
you'd
college.
be, I don't know, branch manager by now or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows what I'd be doing now on on a lot more money than being a fucking minimum wage lifeguard.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, many people have joked that having a degree is a sign of stupidity.
Yeah, just a minute. Mike asks, "I'm helping my brother break his warehouse right now. Have you ever built the racks?" No, not done that. But one of the things that, because I was the team leader, one of the things that I would have to do, there was these high-rise racks in the back of the warehouse. So like the order pickers would go around, ones at regular height. They were like racks on the floor, and then the forklifts would come and they would put the product on the like next level above, and until the pickers are picked away at the bottom shelf, and then the forklifts would come along, move one down, and if the ones up above needed to be replaced, those all came out of the back in the high rise thing, and so the system of the warehouse wasn't very good, and so occasionally like we'd lose an entire product. Let's say it was, I don't know, Colgate total toothpaste, and on the system on the computer it said there was like 3 pallets in the back, but they weren't where they were where you had to find them. So what I got really good at was going into that back and walking up and down and searching for missing stock, and like it occasionally, like, the warehouse came to grinding halts because pallets couldn't go out unless like they were complete. So they'd all be like, pickers would go around and they'd come back. I've got everything except the fucking Colgate toothpaste or whatever. So all these pallets would end up lined up, and if and the warehouse boss used to walk around on this like high up veranda which overlooked the whole warehouse. It was a bit like something out of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, if you've seen that, where he's watching people open golden tickets, a bit like that. And he would see the factory like building up, and he'd come down in a big huff, wanting to know what the problem was. And you used to get like super bonus points if you could go into the back and find the missing stock. And I got super good at this, finding the missing stock. And anyway, there we go. This is how I excelled.
Well, I think for people who sort of miss their boat, I suppose. Who have had
Yeah.
gaps in their CV. I just don't see why they can't do a test for initiative and initiative is good enough, right? I mean,
Mm.
as an employer, you might actually want somebody who will take the initiative, and you might want people who don't and just follow orders. But you can choose between one and the other, couldn't you? Um, and this would be a service being provided to employers. But oh, have you ever taken a personality test? There's a special name for it. Um,
A Myers-Briggs.
no, they do it
A
when
Rorschach test?
um,
No.
no, when employers do it. They call it something, don't they? When employers take a personality test.
I
Have
don't
you
know.
ever um,
I've done the Myers-Briggs, and I think I came out as an INTP,
yeah,
whatever that means.
I sort of did it too.
I think it said I'm the logician,
Mm-hmm.
which rings true to me. I like to try to think I'm grounded, and I do try to be logical about things, even if I don't understand the Arval level of logic or whatever the fuck he talks about.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Mike is asking about my warehousing skills still in the chat. He asks, "Can you drive a forklift?" No, you have to do. It's all. I could drive a forklift if I actually have. The answer is, Mike. Yes, I have driven a forklift. Not much. I've done it to move them in the factory and to like get something at ground level. I've done that amount of forklift illegal. It's not illegal, but against the warehouse rules. But you have to have a license or something,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not strictly supposed to do it. But there were times when I would, because I was the boss of the shift. I was the team leader, and the factory boss wasn't around. Then I would just do that. Just hop on a forklift and do something that had to be done,
Mm-hmm.
but technically not allowed to use it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. But what I did like using most was there's these ones that you stand up on and they will lift. They have forks on. You stand up on them and ride them around, and they have forks on that just lift about, I don't know, 6 inches off the ground just to move pallets around, but they're motorized and you can whiz around the warehouse on those. I used to, whiz around all over on those all day.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
It's something boys imagine. I think boys would imagine.
I nearly killed somebody on one. I nearly crushed somebody up against between two pallets once. I was very close. Holy shit.
Huh.
Yeah, this little who was like 16 years old. This little guy just started. I didn't see him.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I suppose the whole thing is an efficiency drive. I mean, even secularism is a kind of efficiency drive. It's like they won't do what you want them to do, then make them. What's the problem? Oh, human rights. It's like, well, there are two kinds of human rights, aren't there? There's the liberal version of human rights, and then there's the divine version of human rights, and we have to choose. And I think a lot of this neurosis is we can't make up our minds, and it's like, okay, well, force them to make up their minds for once.
Yeah, look, I don't necessarily agree like with everybody on the right wing who just go, "Oh, human rights don't really exist. Human rights are dog shit or whatever. Human rights are crap." I think that's because we're at this point, where everything is. We don't have to worry about somebody really infringing our human rights too much, and therefore we think we should like allow them to be thrown away. I get that they're just a legalistic structure, but there are like a lot of cases where governments wish to, where government, things which can infringe upon your rights, and then when it comes down to it, people quite like to have this ability to appeal to, my human rights are being infringed here. So I get that it's problematic. It needs to be changed, probably, but as an idea, I can understand it.
Well, what do you think are your human rights? Uh, I mean, I
Well,
think it came from America, right? Um, you know, in the Declaration of Independence, going on about, man was created equal with certain inalienable rights, something like that. Okay, let me just find the
the Americans have a bill. The Americans have the Bill of Rights.
with amendments, and the Declaration of Independence is a separate document.
Yeah.
And people kind of, well, I mean, it's a holistic
Basically, what
thing.
I'm trying to say, I don't know what they are legalistically. Like, obviously, what we're talking about is the Court of Human Rights in Brussels. This is what we're talking about: the European Court of Human Rights
Oh,
and
they're
human
just
rights.
rubbish. I just ignore them because in practice it's all ignored. How can you claim to have human rights when people are being thrown into prison for singing songs or posting, mildly offensive things? It's not a fiction that people do get imprisoned.
Yes, you're right.
And,
Absolutely,
and,
you're
and
right.
one thing that I did learn at law school was that um, you know, the British Constitution, it's such a con job. It's like, oh, it's this unwritten constitution, this magic invisible thing. And I remember writing an essay and I got a first for it and I was so proud. And it's only later that I thought I was just being patted on the head for, affirming this fictitious thing. And it actually means that the British have no rights at all because of the doctrine of parliamentary supremacy, which means that Parliament can pass or repeal any law it likes.
Mm.
Do you understand? Do you see why?
Yes, I understand.
Thank you. So it's like whatever rights you think you have now, Parliament can just destroy them, by passing. Um,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And so, this is the thing about being signed up to this other body, this European Court of Human Rights, which I understand the problem that it's binding us from doing other kinds of things, but it also is this like other protection from what you're worried about happening. Because it can interfere and say, no, you can't do that because that interferes with their human rights.
right. Okay, the first time it's mentioned, as far as I know, Stephen, is in the preamble to the Declaration of Independence. And it goes, we hold these truths to be self evident that all
Mm.
men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Mm.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that government long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed.
Mm.
But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a desire
All
to
right.
reduce them, it's
You might as
going
well
on.
stop.
It's
Yeah,
going
you
on
might as well
about
stop.
monarchy.
I've zoned out already, but I got the first part.
Yeah, but I mean, the second bit it's really talking about the monarchy.
Mm. Well, look, what I want to say about all that is what a beautiful thing. I mean, I actually think that the Americans, the founding fathers, did an amazing thing when they went there and drafted this fucking thing up. I do like the people who are, in favor of the American Constitution. I I do think it was a worthy cause, and they, did a fucking pretty good job. Pretty good damn job of it.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to what I mean, what it could have been.
Well,
Um,
yes, because
it's
it's
hard
all
to
about
foresee.
getting it in writing.
Yes,
That's
and
what it's all about.
it's very hard to foresee the future. Like I see Sarah in chat, like he says, life, liberty, and the pursuit of sodomy. It's very hard to foresee where all these things are going to go, but you do want a government to, in theory, protect your rights to liberty, to not be interfered with too much, to have freedom. Everybody does want personal freedom. I know everybody on the distant right, they have this like authoritarian fetish. But I mean, deep down, we are all, we all, want our personal liberty.
Yeah. So the philosophical and moral and political question is, what liberty are we entitled to? That remains a question. Nobody agrees on that. I mean, libertarians say things like, "My right to swing my arms um, ends where your nose begins."
The answer is the maximum amount of liberty to that which you know, does not prevent a state from being a functional state, basically. And then it's at that point at which the state should have imposition upon over the society. But and getting that balance, getting that percentage correctly is the eternal difficulty. But the answer is that the state should allow you the maximum freedom possible within allowing for a decent society that is not fucking train wreck.
Exactly. And so it's a matter of interpretation. And
But
I'm so.
nobody wants to live under one of these super authoritarian societies where, you're terrified of the government fucking, coming and kicking your door down for all manners of infractions. We really do want our own personal liberty at the end of the day.
Yes, so I go on about the Declaration of Independence because it is about the American Revolution, and the American Revolution is about becoming a republic and rejecting monarchy. And and this is I don't think people understand. It's like, I think, we're all stuck in the, ooh, once upon a time in a kingdom far, far away, there lived a happy king, whatever. We're still mesmerized by this idea of a good king who'll look after us and be our daddy. We still go after that. And I think it's shocking the number of Americans who are being so obviously un American by talking about having a king. Do you remember Gandalf? He wanted a king. I don't know where he is now.
Off.
Do you remember
Is that what
Gandalf?
he's Gandalf? Yes.
He definitely wanted a king.
I get it. It's this idea of, it's this authoritarian streak that runs through right-wing people. They want their daddy to enforce the law hard and admonish and punish everybody who breaks the law. But the problem with that is state overreach.
Yeah, because
Isn't it?
it's going to be abused. It's like, okay, maybe you get a good king, but what happens after he's dead? Well, the next king may not be so good, you know?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And therefore, the republicanism is logical, which is not to say that um, is going to be a guarantee of success, because there are republics that are really monarchies in disguise, such as North Korea, and Singapore has been a monarchy in disguise, but we know that Lee Kuan Yew's descendants have not been able to, won't be able to continue, because they've lost their ability to have sons who are capable of doing the job. But the whole idea of a republic is that as a republic, you in theory anyway have a bigger pool of political talent than if you were a kingdom. But I think that's important.
Um, I'd probably agree in today's age. Yes, I'd probably agree. I understand the benefits of having a king who has skin in the game. Okay, skin in the game. It matters because his son will inherit his kingdom, and therefore it is within it is therefore in his interests to not fuck things up, to do the best that he can, because literally his sons will inherit the earth. And surely this is like the incentive versus just like the managerial structure and incentives that we have today. So I get it. I get it why people are monarchists. But, being a monarchist is okay, like you say, until you have a fucking shit king or a despot, a bad king, a terrible king, a maniac, not just a stupid one.
Well, yes, because people just ignore, and I think the British, maybe they do it more than most, because they have a monarchy, and non-British people are very attached to the British monarchy. Including my mother. They sort of, well, they still kind of, yeah, they do. If they watch The Crown, they'll think of all the characters as being characters in a soap opera, and they like them, and whatever. But what I'm trying to say about the monarchy is that really the king is above the law, and people don't really understand that until you get to the extreme example of, say, Mohammed bin Salman, and we know that he has signed the death warrant of that journalist Khashoggi, who was murdered and then
Yes.
dismembered somewhere in Turkey or something, and and we may pretend to be surprised, but if you go back um, in British history, in English history, you will know that Elizabeth I agonised for quite a while before she signed the death warrant of Mary, Queen of Scots.
Mm,
But
yes.
this is the nature of being an absolute monarch. You have the right to do these things.
Yes.
And therefore,
Yeah.
if you're any kind of Islamic scholar living in any kind of Gulf kingdom, you're not going to be saying anything at all to upset your king. And this means they're not even allowed to say, "Oh, hey, Weren't the four rightly guided caliphs, were they kings? And the answer is no, they were not. And that's why they were called rightly guided caliphs. And after
Mm.
that, they were all kings, and then they crashed and burnt. And it's like, you know, the problem was obvious all along. It's been obvious for I don't know how many hundreds of years, and they've just chosen to ignore it. And I think it's in a way it's shocking. It's like, you know, well, white Western people don't get it. They don't. They still don't get it. Australians and Canadians don't get it. I go on about the British monarchy, and they can't process the information, and they get very angry at me. It's like, well, I'm sorry, Australians. You know, your prime minister can be sacked at any time by the governor general answering to the British Crown. And that was what your constitutional crisis was about in 1975. You are a vassal state of a vassal state. And since we're talking about white identity, I think this is really so important for people to understand. It's like this is how the American global empire is run. It is run by, um, you know, letting the British think that they are an independent sovereign nation, and also by making the Australians, Canadians, and New Zealanders think that they have an independent foreign policy. Of course they don't.
Claire, nobody doubts that we are tied to the hip of America, and anybody would be a fool not to be. What America wants, we will acquiesce to. But of course, we're independent. We're independent to determine what we do here, pretty much. I mean, just look at what Keir Starmer is doing right now.
What is he doing?
Well, the answer will be right. We'll get to test your argument on this soon, won't we? Donald Trump is going to become the prime minister, right? Is Keir Starmer going to release all the political prisoners and announce like freedom of speech for the UK?
He's waiting to see if he actually gets inaugurated. Maybe they have another plan to assassinate him again.
No, surely
I
not.
don't know. I don't know. Anything's possible. There's so many vested
Yeah.
interests. I don't know if you heard. I forget which space it was now, but um, I think it was Vincent's space. So he's going, oh, everybody's a Zionist, everybody Zionism, and then a Pakistani popped out and said, I wouldn't worry about it because Trump is preparing to withdraw from the world. He is isolationist. So this Pakistani was saying Trump is isolationist. He's not Zionist. He's isolationist, and he's well. Okay, if I were him, an isolationist, I would be taking the troops back home to sort out these problems in America, internally, domestically.
Well, he's isolationist in theory, as long as the world isn't going to fuck with the USA. But let's imagine that a country, mistakes this, and I mean, we talked about it on a space the other day. Let's imagine that the Houthis in Yemen continue to attack ships going in the Gulf. Let's imagine that happens. Do you think he'll be non-interventionist then? Or do you think he'll go and fuck them up? I think he'll go and fuck them royally up. Because being non-interventionist requires people not testing your mind. Otherwise, this is what the American military is for. And, you can use it with extreme power that you have if you are willing to use it decisively.
Well, I think everybody is creeping around, wondering what's going to happen, and waiting for the dust to settle as regards his appointments. So I guess we don't really need to speculate, but because it might not even happen, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is that if Trump is really isolationist, because I get the impression that a lot of Americans are they're not neocons. They don't like seeing their fellow Americans coming back in body bags. They don't like not being able to explain exactly what the war that they're that this that American soldiers have died from was about. It's very difficult to explain what imperial wars are about, and I'm sure a lot of British people will find it difficult to explain the Crimean War. Like, lots of British people died. Oh, yes, there was a cardigan that was invented by Lord Cardigan. And, oh, yes, there was Florence Nightingale. And that's it. And I'm sure, lots of,
Look,
Maine
neocon.
soldiers begged on the streets and died horribly, ignored.
Look, neoconservatism was the plan of the 1990s by a bunch of American Jews and Zionists to sort out Israel's neighbors in the Middle East and to co-opt American foreign policy to go and bash all Israel's neighbors, or allegedly as goes the conspiracy theory, and apparently, from what we can see of history, Iraq, Libya, whatever. The project for a new American century and all this business. I
It's
don't. I
just
think
another,
that
it's a
era.
nice word for American imperialism.
I
That's
think
all
the
it
era
is.
is over. I like to think that era is over.
Well, under Trump, it should be over because he's got a mandate to end all these wars, which I guess a lot of American voters don't want. Yeah, maybe a few of them do. I mean, the ones who with investments in BlackRock and Vanguard and whatever. But most Americans don't want to do it. They don't want to be cannon fodder, and I think rising inflation is something to do with all the weaponry that NATO is sending over to Ukraine, as well as COVID. But the thinking it's something to do with foreign policy. Finally, foreign policy has come back to bite us on the bum for not caring about it.
Well, the only question that remains is what is going to be done? What is going to happen with Israel and the Palestinians? This is like the only open air thing. The question that remains in the air. And I don't know the solution. If I did, I'd not be sat on here talking to you. I'd be
It's
writing.
secular Quranism with Israeli characteristics, obviously.
Well, I mean, we can guarantee it's not that. So, I mean,
Well, what is it? I mean, basically, they can live there and be on good terms with their Arab neighbours. Um, they're only going to change their ways if they realise that America won't be giving Israel its unwavering support. But if they think America will always give Israel its unwavering support, then they can, they'll just carry on, exterminating Gazans and expanding and doing whatever, so many people find so objectionable.
to me, it looks like up until like October the 7th, the past decade wasn't that bad, was it? It was going okay over there. I know that it's, I think it's kind of like before my time, but I remember either when I was a kid or its memories, I don't know. Israel used to have like a suicide bombing problem, and then all that got fixed and stopped. However, they did that probably by building that wall around wherever it's built. But then they had like a decade of just like this status quo where they keep Gazans in their open air prison camp and allow some people from the West Bank in as workers or whatever, however it works. But like there's basically been a decade of nothing going on, of it running okay. Can't they just go back to that? I don't know. Because if it's not that, then what's the other solution? The only other solution is to fully ethnically cleanse Gaza and the West and annex the West Bank. Are they up to that challenge? And what happens to all these fucking people if they do this? I don't know. And how does that square with Trump's "I'm going to end all the wars" rhetoric? These are the open questions. I don't know what the answers are.
Yeah, I mean, we'll soon find out because the Israelis would have to change their ways if America says, sorry, we're being isolationist now. We're not Zionist. We're
Well,
going
it's
home to mind our own business.
Isolationist, but with Zionist characteristics. Nobody did. No, look, I like to think in my little head that the Zionist faction of Jewry got together with some people on the right wing and did a deal and said, look, we'll let you have your little nationalism at home if we can have our little Zionism abroad on steroids, please. And that's the deal that's been entered into.
I don't think they even have that much control. I think it's a clever ploy by the CIA to deliberately treat Jews better than Gentiles, so that Gentiles really hate Jews, and then the state media can go on about Nazis, and then censor these people that will make the Gentiles hate Jews even more, and then say, oh, but we have to protect the Jews. Everybody hates the Jews. It's so terrible. But we, America, the exceptional and indispensable nation, it's our duty, our white man's burden to protect the Jews. Otherwise,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm buying
we're
that. To be honest,
we're just in Israel to keep an eye on the Arabs and the oil, which isn't very moral or honourable.
look, Zionism runs deep within America, not only because of Jewish influence, but that's a big part of it, but also because of Christian Zionism. So America is joined at the hip with Israel. So it just is what it is.
Yeah, and we sort of know that, Israel isn't just any old colony, it's the Holy Land, right? It's not Puerto Rico or anywhere like that. It's the Holy Land. It's not Hawaii, it's the Holy Land. It has, divine prestige. I'm sure any country, who ended up running it would cling to it because it's like, we're kind of doing God's work by administering the Holy Land. So I think even if the Chinese end up, running Israel, if there were such a situation, or the Russians, they would cling to it because it's their status symbol. It's their, football club or, whatever billionaires do to show off how much money they have, their yacht.
Well, I mean, I think there's something more to that. I mean, what do rich people do? What do you do when you have? What do you do once you have money and fame or whatever, and what is left? And that is then, I guess, literal power politics, and then like geopolitics and attempting to, and then above that, then like for these super powerful people is to believe like they are, I don't know, acting in some divine comedy or divine play that's enacting out on the world. And I do think that there is an element of that.
It's a religious war. That's why I keep going on
Well,
about
there's a script.
theology.
There's a script that was written a long time ago.
Hmm.
All the endings of all three kind of, you know, meet together, don't they? The the Muslim story has an Armageddon ending. The Christians do. The Jews have a similar one. It all talks about this, thing happening at the end. And I do think there's something to this. Like Adam Green talks about, that there are people who are treating, like, the scriptures like a blueprint and trying to act them out on Earth and make things happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's logical, I suppose. If the universe had a beginning, it has to have an end. But, but I mean, okay, my position is whether or not the Messiah is coming in our lifetimes, we still have to follow God's laws, right? It's not like, oh, the Messiah's coming, we can, let everything hang out and have orgies everywhere. No, that was never the bargain. It's like we're still supposed to follow God's laws, such as we understand them. So all this discussion about eschatology is a complete waste of time. But people like to, I don't know, speculate
Yes,
and
but it informs
predict.
policy of people in the Middle East who believe that, like, the Jews will end up, running that land, and that the Messiah will come, they'll build their third temple, and then they'll rule over the fucking earth with all their slaves. It definitely informs the opinion of people who believe that that is the script that is playing out on Earth. They're actors in the play. They're the lead characters in it, and they've got money, wealth. They've got wealth. They've had a family. They've got whatever. What else am I to fucking do? Well, I'm this actor in this fucking play, and I'm going to do what I can to make it happen. I'm going to play my part in it, and they believe that they're doing that. I think some of these people.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same story because it's the same God, right? So there will be the end times, and then somebody will turn up, and he'll be the Mahdi or the Messiah, and then there's argument about, is the Mahdi and the Messiah the same person or not? Is the Messiah going to be Jesus or not? And it's like it doesn't matter. It's like whether he comes or not. Obviously, the people who are obeying God's laws are going to be punished, and those who are not are, you know, they're going to be
Well,
rewarded, and those who are ignoring the laws are going to be punished. It's as
well, let,
simple as that.
let me give you my wild theory. All right. Um, Here's my wild theory. I was listening to Thomas Barden Rees talk to. Did you see that? He had this Zionist guy on. It was a bit like Duvid.
No, no. Is it a recent stream?
Yeah, his last stream, Thomas Barden Rees had this. He calls him, I forget what he calls him, an Illuminati master or something. He's basically an Orthodox Jew who is a Kabbalist. And he looks a bit like Duvid. So it's just a Kabbalist Jew. And there were lots of talk about the Messiah, and the Messiah is going to come and what it means and blah, 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 blah. And I had like this little epiphany because they were talking about it. And Thomas Barton Rees is asking the guy, how will the Messiah like convince all these people to do what he wants or whatever? And the guy's answer was, well, he'll just be so intelligent that he will know how to convince everybody. Um, yes, and because like the story goes, I don't know, after whatever, killing loads of people or whatever, whether that's involved or not, that everybody else will just want It's not that they'll be forced to obey. It's basically that they want to obey, isn't it? This is the story.
Mm-hmm.
That everybody will be like, oh, suddenly I just want to be like this. I know, like this Jewish slave, or
Well,
I just
use our
want.
free will.
Yeah,
That's basically what it
ha-
is.
yes. So effectively, the answer that this guy was giving was that he can't tell you how he's going to do it, but the Messiah will just be so powerful and knowledgeable that he will have the answers as to how to do it. So I had this epiphany and I realized the only thing that that could be is literal AI,
Everything is
isn't it?
AI.
The only thing. And what are we building right now? We're building AI. We're on this path towards what is known as AGI, super intelligence. And so I was like, Eureka. What we're actually are we literally like building the Jewish fucking Messiah here? Is that what's going on? We're building this thing that
Mm-hmm.
like will know how to manipulate us so well that it will give us that we will like give ourselves fully unto it
Mm-hmm.
willingly,
Mm-hmm.
and it will know how to fully control us. That could be the only answer, because I don't believe in a supernatural messiah. I don't believe in any of this other shit. So maybe if I don't know, if there was somebody somehow who prophesized all this, what he prophesized was that like, and it turns out, probably Jews who are building it all. When we look at like who's there in Silicon Valley, Sam Altman and all these people, maybe what was prophesized was that the Jews would build the AI, and that is the Messiah.
Well, okay, I don't think the Messiah is coming in our lifetimes. He's not the maid of all work. It's like, all these problems can be solved quite easily, in my view. Except that, people say, over my dead body, I'd rather die than admit that I've got the wrong religion. I think that's a problem. And there are Quranic verses to this effect. And also, talking about Zionism, I've been, I guess, dismaying the Muslims by saying there's a chapter, there's a verse in the Quran that appears to suggest that Allah is Zionist. Have I discussed this with you, Stephen?
Sorry, I was zoned out for a second. What did you say?
There is a verse in the Quran that suggests that Allah is Zionist. Have we discussed this?
I don't know. What does he say? I love Jews.
Not really. I mean, I was hoping that if you're not too tired, but maybe you don't, maybe a different stream is required for this rather heavy subject.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. By the way, I've got the answer to your Google Meet time limits question, because we've now been going an hour and a half, if
Mm-hmm.
you noticed,
Yes.
and it's not stopped. So I've Googled it, and the answer is if there's two people in a Google Meet, then it can last 24 hours.
Oh wow.
But if there's three people or more, then it only lasts 1 hour.
Right. That's useful to know. What a very, very useful stream it has been. So, have we been nattering to each other for 90
Yes,
minutes? We have.
we have indeed.
Um, could we just do a quick switch over?
To StreamYard. Yeah, try
Yes,
it.
yes,
Go
because we
ahead.
don't want to be talking to each other for 24 hours, do we, Stephen?
God forbid.
Okay, let's see what I can do.
To say you didn't get any notifications, we ended up with a few people listening.
Yes. it's
in
not
the
been too
end.
bad. I mean, we've actually discussed, well, new subjects. So that's always useful. Food
Always
travel.
useful.
Okay, so now I'm going to try your open StreamYard
Yes.
idea. Okay, enter studio.
I should probably call into Luke's again sometime.
Okay.
I've not
No,
called it. Go.
okay, now I can't. What's the word? I can't. I think I need to close the thing and start again. So I have to close both Meet and StreamYard, and because I have to close the browser. Okay, so I'll do
Oh,
that.
send me a link when you've got it. Keep your
Alrighty.
stream going, and
Okay.
we'll see if it. Hang with us, everybody. It might be boring.
For some reason, I can't get the camera to work in the StreamYard thing. So I guess I can't continue the stream. But I can start another stream using this technique. Okay, I'll have to end this now. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see what I can do about having another one. Thank you for